Good playgrounds should feel like part of the community, with local features, trains, lifesaver huts, tractors and tank stands and sheepdogs running around. Playgrounds aren't just about having some fun. They're also about kids growing up and developing skills.
For us at Playworks, it's about giving the child a life experience.
Dave, thanks very much for inviting us down to what looks like a pretty tough session with the boys tonight. You see the physical side of things as important in their training sessions?
Oh, of course, it's vitally important that the guys are physically fit, and we need to maintain a good fitness. The boys here have a pretty heavy pre-season. That's been standard practice here at Commercial for the 12 years that I've been involved at Commercial, and we like to keep them on their toes during the season. You know, pre-season's hard, and then the work during the season is equally as hard. It's important to try to keep the guys fresh mentally. I think the hardest thing with approaching any tough physical session is that you have to be up for it mentally, and so I do like to change the routine up. I give the guys different things to work on, and the intensity level and the distance stuff does vary week to week.
For the first time in a long time, we actually got to see the Commercial Easts game mid-season this year. Great win for you. How much are you looking forward to getting some payback for last year?
Sure, yeah, it was a really good game, I thought. Probably a good game for the neutral, and it's been a while since we've actually knocked them off in the round game, so I was really pleased to take away the 3 points from the game and to have a really strong team performance. But I think both sides have been very competitive, fiercely competitive, but I would like to think that we do have a healthy dose of respect for those guys at East. We acknowledge that they're a very good side and have been the benchmark for the last couple of years, and I would like to think that they feel the same way about us. You know, we've had some great tussles, well documented tussles over the last decade in big matches.
You mentioned beforehand about consistency, and it's one of those things I'm always interested to know. How does a coach coach consistency?
Sure, it's a bit of a difficult one, I guess, when you think of it like that. For me, it's about consistency of effort, consistency of performance, and they're things that a coach needs to keep harping on to their players about, is maintaining what you think's the expected level. And so I believe that as the coach, I'm reflecting what the boys expect to get out of themselves, and that is a high standard of play throughout the year. So it's my job to make sure that they're consistently hitting the high heights, or the highest heights that they can get to for the season.
Do you play specific patterns? If you see one of the opposition's players go out on the field, that you know you've got to put a guy out there specifically to mark him? Sure.
So it really depends on the opposition, and it depends on the phase of the game as well, and the situation of the game. I'd like to think that I'm a fairly flexible coach, and I would often have a couple of different tactics, you know, to have your bases covered according to the game situation. We certainly identify the strengths of our opposition regardless of who we're playing, and then we try to match up our setup to meet how we will be able to combat their strengths or the opposition's strengths. Moving to quarters has been a bit of a juggle, really. It's something different. I certainly never played in quarters, and it has changed the way that we run substitutions and how we've run rotations, because the guys do get that extra rest compared to when we played in halves. So that has been a bit of a challenge.
Mate, I believe you're going to take the leadership role for me tonight and go and ask the boys some questions.
Sure, let's do it. So Kai, last weekend during the televised game, you mentioned Dad's Army at the end of the game.
Yeah, I guess it relates to a couple of the boys I've been playing with. We've been together for about 10 years now. I'm looking at you, Tom Brough, Paul Nichols, Stocky, Laggy's in there as well. Just the boys down the back. We've been together a long time. We're all starting to get, you know, we're past our prime in terms of age. I think we kind of just know what each other is going to do without having to communicate it overtly. So, you know, it's pretty easy for these boys to know where I'm going to lead after all this time, and I know where Paulie's going to throw the ball. I know when he's going to drag and jink and whatever. And Tommy's always reliable, always overlapping on the right there. We always know that Stocky's going to mark up in defence, and it's going to be hard for anyone to get away from him. I think it's a really good balance for the team. You know, we're not all just young and enthusiastic. Some of us are a bit old and experienced, but we've got a really good blend at the moment.
What were your main motivations for coming to Commercial, having played for another club before in Brisbane?
Main motivation was coming back from Perth. Obviously a very serious culture that's at Commercial. The coaching staff that's also here, and then just the players around it. I've got a lot of people that I enjoy spending time with here, so yeah, it's good to be over at a very good together team, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Your more famous wife lives still in Perth with the Hockeyroos. How are you finding the fact that you're based here in Brisbane and she's based in Perth?
It's the perfect marriage, really. You only get to see your wife every now and then, so it's like a brand new relationship every time you get to see each other.
All right, Tommy, you're nearing your 300th game in first grade. Is there one game in particular or one moment in particular that really stands out for you?
Thanks for reminding me, mate. I can tell you now the game that reminds me is about 3 days ago. I can still feel my everything creaking throughout my body. One game in the last 15 years would probably be, there's been 8 grand finals, and each one of those games I cherish very, very close to my heart. Dad was lucky enough to win 4, and he always used to give me a bit of stick growing up that he won 4, and it's good to have one over him. The first one of the 7 premierships in a row, if there was to be singled out one game, that would be the one in 2006.
How do you want to finish your career, given that you've had all this success, a couple of losses?
Yeah, the last 2 years have been tough. I guess 2 years ago we were there, most people would think unexpectedly. The group that were sort of the leadership group and the coaching group that year, we thought and we knew what we could do. Last year was obviously very, very tough to become within 90 seconds of going to extra time and lose the way we did was very, very tough. In saying that, I had lost 2 A-grade premierships or 2 grand finals earlier on in my career, so knew what the feeling was, and it's definitely something I don't want to go through again. As you say, my first division career is coming towards an end. It's definitely not starting. I think the group that we've got now is a really, really good mix across the group. It was a big thing for me last year to step aside as captain after 7 or 8 seasons, and a big reason for that was to still play whilst also help the next generation through.
I'd just like to quiz you about a few of your teammates. Who's the hardest trainer at Commercial?
Hardest trainer at the moment, probably Shane Kenny. Jens Christensen is very, very close.
It's probably myself or Yenzi, I'd say.
Oh, that probably changed in recent seasons, Shane Kenny.
Well, it's a tough call. A lot of the boys do like to work hard. I think I'd have to probably give it to the skipper, Kai Horgood. Who's got the worst haircut?
Jared Taylor.
Unequivocal there.
Yeah.
JT for sure.
Can I name 2? Shane Kenny, Kai Horgood. Red. No matter what they do, it's terrible.
Have to be Jay Pavitt, I reckon. Who's got the best goal scoring celebration?
Oh, David Brain had a pretty good one. He's semi-retired these days, but I don't think anyone's close to that just yet.
It's a long time ago.
It'd have to be Jake Burns at this stage, I think.
Jake Burns. Has and always has.
Jake Burns, hands down. Who's the worst defender in the squad?
Oh, it's probably me these days. I don't like to tackle. I don't like to run back so far.
Tommy Bruff.
The worst defender, Matthew Lagaroth. Whether it's his feet or his stick.
Adam McClelland. The bloke that does the most sledging.
Oh, at the moment, probably my favourite sledger. He might not be the best, but is young Felix. He enjoys giving a keeper a spray after a goal.
I reckon Jake Burns has got that as well.
Oh, Felix.
I think Leighton Stock's a pretty good sniper. Who's the quickest in the squad?
That'd be me. Over a short distance,
Any
of course.
distance?
It's definitely not Tom Bruff. Yenzi probably gives it a fair run for his money, I think.
Kai Horgood.
Depends on the distance, but over 10 yards, no one catches Kai Horgood. And the slowest in the squad?
Tom Bruff.
Dead heat, Paul Nicholls and myself.
Dead heat, Tom Bruff, Paul Nicholls. Who's the worst dressed?
Oh, I'm looking at the boys in the background here. I'll go with Macca tonight.
Standing here right now, it's got to be Macca.
Matthew Finn.
I reckon Jimmy McAlpine's got some tragic kit in his locker. And the best dancer in the squad.
Best dancer.
Who's got the moves?
I'd have to say it's Felix. I think he's going to be the quiet achiever.
Best dancer, it's got to be Jared Taylor.
Probably Felix.
Oh, Tom Bruff must have the best moves. He's just knocked up Ali again for the second time, so he must have something going on that we haven't seen.